about this big ugly ass bill. Um, key takeaways. Key takeaways. We'll definitely get into more of this, but the headline: 60 million people are gonna lose their health coverage. Okay, okay, but also hospitals are gonna close, and I think that's really important. That's the biggest part. It's like not only okay, so we're gonna take away the health care for these people. All right, whatever. You know what? That's fine. But because of that, the hospitals that service these people, they're not going to be able to operate anymore because they don't have a way to get payment. You know, they still need to pay doctors, to pay the nurses, pay the admin, all that stuff. They can't pay them, so they have to close them. Apparently, Kentucky, 35 hospitals are going to be closed in Kentucky. And just to put this in perspective, let's say you're bleeding out of an artery, like it's pulsing with your heart, like I think you have like 5 minutes to get to the hospital, probably less. If you have a stroke, every minute that you're delayed to getting to the hospital is like 2% increase. You won't get full functioning of your whatever parts of your brain that you're being starved from it for air or blood. Um, Heart attacks. You know, if they don't have a defibrillator, literally minutes are lives. You know, so I don't like to get into the hyperbole too much. You know, I do have my doom and gloom moments. I do, I've been saying we've been looking pretty bad lately. But yeah, just that fact, like yeah, like literally emergency rooms are going to be closed, and people aren't going to be able to. They just have to go further, whether it's 5 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever the time is. That increased amount of time increases the amount of people who will die. So they were dancing after they signed it. They signed the fuck are they? Oh, I know what he's doing. They signed the bill that took away health coverage in hospitals for rural areas. They danced after they signed it, and yeah, so here we are. I got my chicken wings though, so that's exciting. They're really good, actually. Worth $15 for 5 wings and then some fries. Eee! When I'm rich, not so problem. But we're all gonna be poor. We're all about to be poor. We're all about to be poor, except for the uber rich. If you make over $250,000 a year, you are getting more money. Hey. If you make under $250,000 a year, you will be getting tariffed more, and it will not make up for the taxes you get back will not make up for what you're losing in tariffs. Speaking of which, just to give a for instance for the how the tariffs are working, the company my grandfather buys dolls from to sell here in the United States, it's from China. Okay, so they said, you know what, the tariff is 30%. We'll do 18. You guys have to pay 12%. So my grandfather has to pay a 12% tax on all the dolls he buys from China now. So, yeah, tariffs are taxes. Anybody who says anything else is a fucking liar, like the rest of them. Oh, and please, oh man, I gotta bring up my chat. If you want to argue with me on any of this shit, bro, let me know. I have so much to say. So much to say. Well, no, that's not what I wanted. Stream manager. Uh, I'm so excited. I've been reading so much lately. It's so sad, everything I'm reading, but I'm so fucking prepared for this shit. So let me know in the chat if you want to catch these hands. I talked to my religious friend about it. He's studying to be a pastor. You know, I've had some really low moments lately, and I needed a little religious boost to it. And yeah, he didn't really. He calmed me down. He said there's better paths, but Jesus would not. Jesus would not say that I'm a sinner for choosing a path of throwing these hands. Uh, hey, all right, all right. So let's put this video on. I'm gonna finish eating my chicken wings. Yeah, let's get this rolling.
Security Council spokesman for President Obama, Tommy Vitor. Tommy, thanks for joining me.
Brian, good to see you.
So I want to talk about the consequences of this bill that was just passed by the Republican Senate and the Republican House. Already, we have seen, even before the passage of this bill, for example, one community healthcare center in southwest Nebraska shut down. The CEO of that hospital, community hospital, came out and said, unfortunately, the current financial environment, driven by anticipated federal budget cuts to Medicaid, has made it impossible for us to continue operating all of our services. And so we're already seeing an instance where one hospital is shutting down just in anticipation of this bill. And so, in terms of the broader consequences, is this a situation where you think that Republicans are going to be able to skate by in very much the same way that they've been able to skate by with unpopular legislation in the past because of how quickly the news cycle is, because of how they can obfuscate the reality surrounding it? Or do you think it's going to be impossible for them to escape the reality of this thing?
I mean, I think it's our job to make sure they count. I mean, I was pretty frustrated yesterday to see how much like the cable news channels were focused on the Diddy trial and then this murder case in Idaho. There was not a ton of coverage of the big beautiful bill going through Congress yesterday, and so that's where I think like independent media outlets like you and like us over at Pod Save America are going to be critical, and also just the Democratic Party like talking about this every single day until the midterm elections. Because to your point, I mean, that example you just raised. The Kaiser Family Foundation did a bunch of polling on the bill, and support for it dropped to 21% when voters were informed that it could decrease funding for local hospitals and lead to them shutting down. So if people hear that story, this is politically devastating, and that could get us beyond just sort of the 35 core targets that DCCC currently has.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can expand that.
Do you think that look, we're in a political environment where we do have short attention spans and we do have short memories. I mean, I was thinking yesterday about the fact that when Roe was overturned, it felt like such a massive blow, and it was.
When it was in the Senate, and it was like a 50-50 split, the VP had to come in and come in and break the tie to get it passed. I did have a little hope. I did have a little hope that they're like, all right, look it. Not only do they see the 50-50 split, but they see the poll numbers. Nobody likes this bill. This bill hurts real Americans. So I was like, okay, listen, they're gonna send it back to the House, and it's gonna be half as devastating as it is right now. You know, the fucking deciding vote, whatever, Alaska bitch, Lisa Merkowitz or whatever her fucking name is. That's literally what her statement said. Like, this is such a difficult vote, but I had to vote yes. And I know it's a bad bill, but I hope that it goes to the House and they fix it and they make it better and I will give her this. I will give her this. She did her fucking job. She's like, the way they got her yes is by saying, you know what? All the cuts to SNAP and all the cuts to Medicaid that we're talking about for the rest of the country will exempt you. You in Hawaii will get exemptions, okay? So go ahead, vote yes for the bill. We'll fix it. Don't worry. We'll just trust, fix this. And she's like, yeah, okay. My constituents are protected. That's all I needed to do. Here's my yes. They go back to the house. They don't change a damn thing. They don't change. There's some shit out there right now saying that the holdouts, the Republican holdouts who made it uh, a little more dramatic, like Chip Roy or some other guys, um, Andy Biggs, I think too, fucking bitch. They changed their vote from no to yes after Trump said, "I'll send you some signed fucking merch. I'll sign some fucking merch for you, and I'll send it. Give me your yes vote." And they fucking gargled his balls and said, "Yes, sir. May I have another?" Ugh, fucking gross. It's so fucking gross. Oh my god. But okay, so what? One of the things they try to do is, well, they did do so. The cuts to Medicaid and SNAP don't go into effect until after the election, so people won't actually feel any of those cuts until 2026, until after November 2026, I think. However, I think it would be a good idea for the Democrats to like have some sort of way to like let those get away from my chicken wings. Let those people know in advance, like, hey, before the elections, before the November elections, just let those people know, hey, you specifically, you, this person on Medicaid receiving SNAP, you are either getting cut off or your benefits are getting reduced. Just FYI, this is happening. It's coming up after these elections. Maybe vote with us, as we're the ones who didn't vote to cut your benefits or kick you off your health insurance. That's what we need to see. But I digress.
But we're the next presidential cycle saw Republicans gain full control of government,
Right.
And this is an immediate environment where not only are there not major consequences, but you can actually get rewarded for doing the worst, most depraved things, and that's what we're seeing right now. And so, do you think that we are too far away? And I know we have agency in this, but is there some concern that we're far away? We have over a year until the next election, and while this might be very much in the zeitgeist right now, that they can kind of escape by virtue of the amount of time that's going to pass.
Yeah, look, I do worry a lot about that. I mean, you never know what can happen. There could be some sort of exigent event, sort of a terrorist attack.
Right. I mean, look, in January of 2020, nobody
Right.
thought that 60 days from then we would be in the midst of a global pandemic.
Exactly.
So you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. You never know what's going to happen. Donald Trump always likes to fabricate like the latest caravan full of, MS-13 guys who have Ebola or whatever right around an election. So they're going to try to change the subject to what they want. It's just incumbent on us to remind people what a piece of shit this bill is, right? Like $6 trillion in debt, according to the conservative Cato Foundation.
Yeah.
Massive tax cuts for the richest people in the country, throwing 12 million people off of Medicaid. I mean, this is like a cataclysmic event politically. It's going to harm real people. People are going to die. Like 50,000 people a year are going to die because of this bill. And we need to be the ones who tell.
That's an insane number. I don't know if that number is very accurate, but it sounds about right. Like I said, like if rural hospitals are going to be closing, minutes are, life and death for people. So if you close a rural hospital and you make their drive time from an emergency room from 5 minutes to 45 minutes, yeah, it's fucking people are going to die on their way to a hospital.
Those stories. Republicans will lie and spin, and Trump will say, "Oh no, I said no Medicaid cuts, and there's none in this bill," and just people are completely full of shit. We need to correct that.
What is the polling showing right now in terms of how much people actually know about what's in this bill? Just in terms of knowing how much work we have to do to get people aware of what's happening.
Yeah, so like in polls that look at approval of the bill, it ranges from 19 points underwater to 29 points underwater, so it's wildly
Wow. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, but that's fucking trash. And it just makes you... Like, okay, Musk drama. I don't know if who's he's on his own. He's on his side. You know, he's always on his side. All right, let's just remember that. But he's launching a campaign against Trump, against the Republican Party. He's a new party, the America Party. I don't like it at all. Don't like it at all. But I don't got beef with him anymore because he's, enemy of my enemy. He's me friend. So that's kind of the vibes we're at with him right now. But he has $20 billion to fucking spend. He's worth $400 billion right now. He has $20 billion to spend. He can end homelessness in the United States of America, and he doesn't.
Unpopular. But Priorities USA did some polling that found less than half of Americans know anything about the bill, and only 8% of Americans could name Medicaid cuts as a detail of the bill they have heard about. So the most unpopular part of this thing is barely talked about.
Right, and I think that it's incumbent on us then, every opportunity we have, to let people know that yes, there are 17 million people who are going to lose their health coverage through Medicaid. 18 million kids are going to lose their access to school meals. We have food assistance is going to be stripped away to the tune of $300 billion. We're going to see 300 rural hospitals close, including the one that I just referred to before. We're going to see the budget explode to the tune of, it depends on the estimates, but the one that you just cited before was $6 trillion. That's in addition to the $8 trillion that Republicans exploded the deficit during Trump's first term for the exact same thing, for these tax cuts. And it would blow up ICE's budget to the tune of, I think it would be the sixth. If ICE was a military, they would have the 16th largest budget on Earth.
It's terrifying.
They have a bigger They have a bigger budget than the militaries of a good portion of Western Europe, including countries like Brazil, Israel, Italy, and so that's what this bill does. And I think, to your exact point, it's incumbent on us to make sure that people know it. But they have, I think, one of the more insidious aspects of this is that they have included crumbs in this bill to be able to give themselves messaging opportunities, and so they'll be able. They're touting this idea that there's no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tip, and no taxes on Social Security. First of all, no taxes on Social Security does not exist. It is a figment of the Republicans' imagination, fully made up. It is not in the bill. If anybody could find me that text, I would love to see it. And then, as far as no taxes on tip and no taxes on overtime, those are minute provisions that are capped at $25,000 for tips and $12,500 for overtime. So these are still poverty wages that they're allowing before they start taxing again. And the provision sunsets in 2 years. So it's just enough time to while Trump is still in office that he can beat his chest about that. The second he's out of office, those things go away. And look, if they likely know full well that if a Democrat, first of all, is allowed to win in the 2028 election cycle, but if a Democrat wins, then all of a sudden, even the minute popular provisions of this bill go away, so that Republicans can say, "Hey, weren't things better when Daddy Trump was in office and you had all these provisions?"
The Daddy Trump stuff is so weird, man. Why are they doing that? Yeah, I mean,
don't even feed into it as a joke. It's so gross. Like, but yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors, bro. It's all smoke and mirrors. So, we already have the Trump tax cuts from 2017. Okay. That does. We're leaving those wages now. All right. 27 tax cut. Nobody's gonna see an increase in their take-home pay. Okay. The new tax cuts, the billionaire tax cuts, the people making over $400,000 tax cuts, those go into its effect right away. Okay? And then the deduction, because it's not a tax cut for wages, or no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's not. That's not what it is. Okay? It's a deduction. So you can deduct for your wages, for your tips, $25,000 from your taxes. Hey, God damn it. Taxes. on tips, okay? Everything after 25K, you little shit, stop. That's not for you. Everything after that is going to be taxed as well. For OT, it's even fucking less. And I'm like, overtime tax, deduction limit. Yeah. $12,500 for overtime. You're only allowed up to $12,500 of overtime tax free. Everything over $12,500 of overtime, everything after that, it's going to be taxed like normal. The waitress, the waiter, that are getting their sole income, what they live off from tips after they make $25,000, it's going to be taxed again. Oh my Jesus, what a fucking scam, bro. How does it feel? How does it feel to be scammed over and over and over again by the same fucking man, by the same fucking party? Like, it must. I don't know. George W. G.W. said it best. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, it ain't gonna happen again. Oh man, that's just embarrassing. Anybody who believes anything out of that man's mouth, and just right now he's at a rally in Iowa. All right, where Joni Ernst said, "Oh yeah, everybody fucking dies." That fucking lady. There's probably 1,000 people there that are going to be losing their health coverage and getting their SNAP benefits reduced. He was at a rally there, and he's like, "Yeah, we passed it. We did it. No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime." The Social Security shit didn't even happen. The Social Security shit didn't even happen, but the tips and the overtime that's in there. Yeah, it's capped. It's capped though. Uh, um, so they're still gonna be paying on their fucking tips and their overtime. They're still gonna be paying taxes on it. So, especially the overtime one. The overtime is so bad. That is so. It's $12,000. Holy shit! Like the people who like get rich are the trade people who really make all their fucking money off of overtime. That's like a month's overtime for them. Maybe 2 months, okay? I'm talking like they're working 60, 70 hours. They're doing like welding, plumber, construction worker, somebody in that type of trade. They're making lots of overtime. Their hourly pay is, $30, $40 an hour, whatever, around there. So that I watched a video where the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm still gonna pay about $3,000 in overtime taxes. Like, you didn't really help me at all. Thanks, bud."
Look, to your point, I mean, the people who are getting a tiny, tiny little tax cut on tips for their first $25,000 in income, they're very likely going to be losing benefits in the form of Medicaid or food assistance, right? Yeah. So those people are probably going to get harmed more than they get helped. Meanwhile, a married couple worth $30 million will no longer have to pay an estate tax. Right. They'll just pass all that money down to their kids. So those are the people that are actually benefiting. But the other thing that's helpful here, Brian, is like, there are district by district breakdowns of the impact of this bill already. Like David Valadao, California 22nd District, 65,000 people in his district are going to lose access to their health care. Yeah. 60,000 could lose access to food assistance. 3,612 energy jobs could be lost because it also guts tax credits for renewable energy. So the impact is real.
Yeah, and it's in these districts where, I mean, these frontline members, who many of whom have predicated their entire identity on protecting those with who, Medicaid recipients, on making sure that the budget isn't exploded. These are the very people who ushered through this same bill. I mean, you have people like Lisa Murkowski who are trying to applaud the fact that she was able to make this bill less terrible by saying, okay, well, we were able to raise the rural hospital fund from $25 billion to $50 billion. But it's to offset damage that the same bill imposes. And so, like, if you're voting in favor of legislation that would strip $1.1 billion from Medicaid, but then also saying, like, hey, we're able to get like a few percentage points of that funding back, you don't get credit for making the thing that you are voting for less bad when you had the opportunity to just not vote for it. I mean, the example I like to use is like, this is the equivalent of her basically saying, I was able to secure fire extinguishers in this bill that would set the forest on fire.
That's funny. This person already has me blocked. What a little fucking bitch. Suckers.
Fucking. Did you see the video of her? I think she got asked by like Ryan Nobles, maybe NBC News, about criticism of the bill and criticism of her vote, and she just stared daggers into his eyes
for 10 seconds.
I'm like, it's like just crazy, and then was just like so defensive, like she is the victim here, not the people in her state who are going to get thrown off their health care, are going to lose food assistance.
And I think the saddest part is, I'm going to read an excerpt from the New York Times, and this is you'll be shocked about this, but this is Lindsey Graham speaking about Donald Trump. He likes hosting people; it relaxes him. He said that Mr. Trump told him he could go to the pro shop and pick out a shirt. So, like, this is who these people have debased themselves for. This is who they are currying favor for. This is who they're so fucking afraid of that they will throw their own constituents, millions of their own constituents, under the bus. This is who they'll strip lifelines, essential lifelines, away from, so that they can suck up to a guy who might give them a free fucking hat from the pro shop.
Lindsey Graham, there was a profile of Lindsey Graham a couple of years back by Mark Leibovich, where he just talked about how desperate he was to be relevant. And it just explains everything about Graham. You know, he is for whatever's happening. When John McCain was potentially going to be president, he was best friends with John McCain. When Donald Trump came on the scene, now he abandons McCain. Now he's a Trump guy. He's one of the saddest, most pathetic people in all of politics. What does he get out of this? I guess he gets a hat, and he gets to talk Trump into starting a war with Iran. Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
What's happening to Ukraine, though? Oh, actually, they just cut off deliveries of incredibly important weapon systems like interceptor missiles, like the Patriot missiles that block Ukrainian cities from getting destroyed by Russian ballistic missiles and drones. We just cut that off. So, Lindsey Graham, you were the big Ukraine guy. You're the big,
And this is what I was saying, that really isn't that much good news about. I guess the good news is the fight isn't over. Nobody's. I think we're just entering a new chapter. Like the original, like No Kings was the end of chapter 1. Like, okay, like the resistance is growing, and now the resistance needs to get serious. We need to lock in because shit has just gone way, way, way worse than anybody fucking expected. But now the victories that we're seeing are just in local. I mean, in federal districts. Okay, we're just seeing those, and the reverberations will come later. Okay, so like I know it's a little dismal right now, but I'm definitely gonna touch on some things that y'all should be y'all can hang your hats on and feel good about. But yeah, the whole Ukraine thing, like you said, these are just defensive equipment. We're giving, I think in this bill there's money for Israel. There's money for Israel to keep killing Palestinians, but we stopped arming Ukraine with defensive equipment to protect them from bombardments from Russia. You probably don't remember this. This was my earlier streams. One of my deep dark predictions was uh, the three powers are enabling each other to launch colonization campaigns, and that's Russia, USA, and Israel. Russia, Ukraine, obviously, Israel, Palestine, obviously, and then um, USA. I don't think Canada. I think Greenland's still on the plate, but I wouldn't put it past him once we reach like the point of no return. I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're hurtling towards some sort of military plan. Because the military budget is now $1 trillion. All right, so you're gonna spend $1 trillion on something, you're gonna fucking use it. Okay, if I buy something, like I'm gonna eat it, I'm gonna use it, or I'm gonna make sure whoever I got it for uses it. Like I ain't gonna waste money like that, not in this fucking economy. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at, and that is like this. There's no reason for it. No reason to be stopping arming Ukraine that way. This is not new money. This is old money that we're sending to them. The only reason that you would stop this shipment of equipment is to weaken Ukraine. So that's where we're at. This is where we're at in there. So remember, they're in a new chapter. We got to be prepared for this new chapter. Good Trouble protests July 17, 14, 17. July 17th. What the fuck? Protest. I'm gonna make some more signs. I gotta make some more signs. I think that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow if shit is open. I just need some protest votes. Yep. Hey. July 17th. Let's go. All right.
You're welcoming Zelensky to Washington, fighting for the Ukrainian military, pushing money their way. Now Trump's cutting them off.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing as Elon Musk, who's complaining about the impacts of this bill as far as clean energy and EV tax credits are concerned. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
You got these people into power. You bankrolled his party.
You dropped $300 million.
You have somebody like Lindsey Graham who's doing the same thing, who's bolstering the profile and kowtowing to a guy who is acting in a way that is completely antithetical to all of Lindsey Graham's purported values.
Yep.
And I think that that's the sad reality of what Trump has done to so many people. He has basically gotten them on record showing that they stand for nothing at the end of the day. You have the House Freedom Caucus who pretends that who pretends that their whole thing, their whole raison d'etre to be in Congress is that they want to make sure that we don't explode the deficit and balloon the debt so that future generations of Americans are not saddled with bills that we can't pay off. And yet they ushered
Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and Brian Fitzpatrick, I think they're the three only Republicans who didn't vote for this bill. Respect to all of them. They stood on principle. Fitzpatrick loved his principle more than the other ones. Fitzpatrick, it was because of the Ukraine thing. He's like, we can't call them allies if we're gonna stop giving them what they need to defend themselves. Just like the reasons we fucking give billions to Israel. Oh Lord, man, I wanted to drink so bad. I'm not going to, but Massey and Rand Paul, they didn't do it because the deficit grows, and that's just their litmus test. They're like, yeah, if you're gonna grow the deficit, I'm not going to vote for it. Fair enough. So, in reality, they wanted more cuts. Okay, and we are seeing the biggest cuts to health coverage for millions of Americans. We are seeing the biggest food assistance cuts for Americans in all of history. Yeah, we've saw like huge increases in those two areas. You know, the health of Americans and feeding Americans. Now we're seeing the largest cuts of those, but those cuts aren't enough to offset the tax cuts for billionaires and millionaires. Those cuts aren't enough to offset the cuts, the lost revenue from letting the 2017 Trump tax cuts fade away. You know that deficit's still there. So we're making cuts, but we're also increasing spending, and I mean, we're back to Reagan. It's they literally are banking on. They're like money in the bank, fucking all our money on red. We're betting all our money on red, and that bet is it'll trickle down. Like the billionaires and millionaires will have more money, so they can invest more money, so they can create more jobs by creating more companies. Okay, that's where we're at. They think that the richest people will not hoard their wealth. They will make more investments. They will make more companies and make more jobs. And the increase in GDP, which is down, which has been negative now. That once we get to 5% GDP, it's a wrap. That's all we need. 5% GDP. We'll pay for everything. We don't got to worry about it. We won't be mortgaging our children's future on our debt. It'll be good. You guys aren't doing the right math. You do that math, and you do it with 5% GDP. You're crying for no reason, right? It's not like we probably never have had 5% GDP in the world. And it's not like our number one export is, bullets and bombs. Uh, and it's not like we're we're in a ever broadening trade deficit, and it's not like our GDP has been down since Trump got in office. So it's not like, there's indicators. It's not like there's signs. It's not like there's warnings that this plan is going to fail. It's not like we haven't seen it before with Ronald Reagan and his trickle down economics. It's not like we've seen this movie before. This is brand new stuff. Cutting edge. Cutting edge. Never has a president had this type of plan. Cutting benefits for Americans, cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires, and hoping it works out for the best. He's such a fucking visionary. They fucking want to put him on Mount Rushmore. They want to chisel out, spend more money, but chisel out his fucking face in a mountain. That's what they want to do. Fucking idiots. Every single one of them. Fucking idiots. Dumbasses. There aren't enough negative fucking explicitives for these people who keep falling for the bullshit. Like, I'm not gonna lie. When I was little, I thought it would be cool to be a con man. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a con man. I saw Matchstick Men with Nicolas Cage, and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. You can just go to some rich people and sell them a fucking fake getaway and steal their bank information and get all their money. That sounds awesome. Then I went to church and I fucking listened to the priest and found out, like, no, you shouldn't do that shit. And I had good parents and who loved me and stuff and bought me things, so I didn't have to steal. So I was like, oh, This is bad. You shouldn't be a con man. You should tell the truth. You should not fucking lie 90% of the fucking time. It just hurts everyone. And again, I come back to this. Like, why are they allowed to lie to us? Why, from behind the seal of the President of the United States, are they allowed to lie to us? Fucking, oh, it's infuriating.
It through. Certainly bigger than anything those communists on the left, like Barack Obama and Joe Biden, were putting through. And now their names are all over the thing. So what do you stand for at the end of the day if it's not the very things that you are in Congress to do?
Well, maybe the number one example is J.D. Vance, who cast the tying vote that got this bill passed by the U.S. Senate. This is a man who came up as some sort of populist working man's hero, talking about Mima and Peepaw, and he had his book, and now he tweeted the only thing that mattered in the bill was the money for ICE, that everything else, including, quote, the minutia of Medicaid policy, is immaterial. So I guess by minutia, he means throwing 10 to 12 million people off of Medicaid. That's minutia now?
Right. There was a quote from Republican lawmaker Derek Van Orden. He said, I guess he was getting defensive because people were accusing the Republicans of just basically being a wholly owned subsidiary of Donald Trump. And so I don't know where anybody would get that idea.
Yeah.
But Derek Van Orden said, the President of the United States didn't give us an assignment. We're not a bunch of little bitches around here, okay? I'm a member of Congress. I represent almost 800,000 Wisconsinites. I want to tell you, one of his next tweets was, I am standing with real Donald Trump and the One Big Beautiful Bill. Once again, we have some pretendicons backstabbing President Trump. No bueno.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he is one of a bunch of members of Congress who all said they would absolutely not, under any circumstances, vote for something that included Medicaid cuts.
Cut two.
Here we are.
Yeah, I think there were two people who voted against it. It was like Brian Fitzpatrick and Thomas Massey.
Yep.
That's it. Everybody else was perfectly content. And so now that people are looking at this, what is your, look, you work at Crooked Media, host Pod Save America and Pod Save the World. What is your focus now as it relates to this bill as we head toward midterms here, which again are more than a year away?
Yeah, I mean, I think the insidious thing about this bill is that a lot of the impact is going to be delayed until after the elections.
Yeah.
And so we just have to make sure people understand what was voted on and what was coming. And it's pretty frustrating that this is getting rammed through July 4th weekend. The people were more focused on the Diddy trial than they were on what was happening in Washington. So it's incumbent upon us.
To the Democrats' credit, the fact that Hakeem Jeffries was able to stand on the floor and speak for almost 9 hours meant that the Republicans could not vote on this bill at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It meant that they had to vote on this bill, in broad daylight, and that's one. I mean, hardly a silver lining, but at a bare minimum, it's what we should be doing.
Look, I appreciate the hustle.
Yeah.
Good for him. I couldn't talk for 9 hours straight. I'm glad we're talking about this thing in the middle of the day and not in the dead of night. But it's going to be a long time between now and the midterms, and we're going to have to talk about this every day, constantly, and make sure that all these frontline members own this thing.
Yeah, and one step that we all can take in terms of making sure that voices like Tommy's and your co-hosts at Pod Save America are elevated in this ecosystem is, if you're not yet subscribed to Pod Save America's YouTube channel, I'm going to put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. These are the voices that we need to lift up so that when people come onto YouTube, come onto these social media platforms looking for information, that they are not immediately sorted to right-wing sources. So again, I'll put that link on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Tommy, appreciate your time.
Thanks, buddy.
This is pathetic, and it has all of the hallmarks of the kind of authoritarian society that Trump wants to take us into. Dissent is simply not.
Okay. And that's why, I mean, they had the numbers, okay? 3 fucking Democrats died in after they took office this year. So Democrats are -3 in the House, and then they just didn't win as much as they needed to take the House, and then Senate, it's just like literally tied 50-50. So it's not like there are a good amount of Republicans up for re-election this year that should just as a sense of, if not for their constituents, just for themselves, to make sure that their job, that they get hired next year by their constituents, they should, have just out of wanting to survive and get reelected, they should have voted no on this. Um, they're so confident, they're so dancy, they're so happy to. I mean, Texas. One point, it was 1 point. Texas is 1.6 million people might lose their Medicaid coverage. 1.6 million people. That's a fucking election. That is a whole ass election. Okay, 110%. So the only way they could, it's just my conspiracy theory, they're just not worried about the next elections. They're not worried about the next election, which is weird because they don't have Elon anymore. So what is it that they are not afraid of anymore? It's not so the answers to that aren't great.
Tolerated anymore within Republican ranks.
Let him cook. That's Senator Bernie Sanders right there talking about the disastrous budget bill. He has a powerful message to the American people before this budget bill seems like it's going to pass, a disastrous budget bill. Let me show you another moment from that powerful speech that he just gave. Play this clip.
I don't have to tell anybody that this is an extremely difficult moment in American history. Trump and the oligarchs have unlimited wealth. They have a great deal of power and they want more. But there is something that we have. And we saw that just last week in the recent mayoral primary in New York City. So what you had is one candidate supported by all of the big money interest, all of the oligarchs, but you had the other candidate who was supported by ordinary people. And guess who won? The guy, Mr. Mamdani, who was supported by rank and file New Yorkers, won the election.
And let me show you the full speech by Senator Bernie Sanders. And one of the things I really appreciate about him is just channeling the power of the people at this important moment in time right now. It was an honor to have him on the network as well before. But let me show you this. You're going to want to watch every moment of this. Let's play it.
Thanks very much for joining me. Let me be very clear. Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill, now on the floor of the Senate, is one of the most dangerous pieces of legislation ever brought forth in the modern history of our country. It is a gift to the billionaire class while causing massive pain for working families. Actually, I'm wrong. I shouldn't use the word gift because the billionaires paid for it. This bill is an absolute reflection of a corrupt campaign finance system. The billionaires invest hundreds of millions of dollars in candidates and in elections. And in this bill, this piece of legislation, their investment is paying off. So, what are they getting? Well, the top 1% is receiving $975 billion in tax breaks. Further, and this is really quite unbelievable, the wealthiest 0.2% receive a $211 billion estate tax break. $211 billion for the top 0.2%.
I was watching some videos on that, or maybe I'll put that on after that. This Robert Reich video. He used to be the Secretary of the Department of Labor, I think, for Obama. And he just went through the lies about, the myths about, taxing the rich. Yeah, like there's just no reason. that we need to be helping them out. They're doing perfectly fine by themselves. They like the joke. Oh man, this guy had a great joke. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but it was just he was like, okay, I just wanted to let you know the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. Like if you had $2 million, you spent $1,000 a day, it'd be you'd run out of money in like 2 or 3 years. If you had $2 billion and you spent $1,000 a day, it would take you like 2,700 years to spend all of your money. So that means a man named Moses from the Bible, were he still alive and he had $2 billion back then, he would still have fucking money. Okay? We don't even have to go after the fucking millionaires. We could just focus on the billionaires. We can focus on the fucking billionaires, bro. They are doing quite all right. Quite all right. This motherfucker. Oh, who is a? Oh yeah. I mean, just by the numbers, bro. Like, look at this number. 990,999,999 dollars and 99 cents. Okay. Mamdani is getting a lot of heat because he's like, I don't think. Bernie says it too. We shouldn't have billionaires. We shouldn't have billionaires. And they're like, people are just like, oh, that's socialism. That's Marxism, communism, blah blah blah, all of that bullshit. But it's not that we wouldn't have billionaires. What we were doing is taxing every dollar after $999,999,999.99. We would be taxing every dollar after that by 90%, maybe even 100% if we want to get fucking crazy on it, if we really want to close. I think 90% would be fine. Okay, so they make their $999,999,999.99. They make that much. Okay, and then keep 10 cents from every dollar that they make after that, and the rest pays for college, pays for social security, pays for high-speed rail, pays for our national parks, whatever it is, and then they're still billionaires. Okay, so just this example. Okay, they have $999,999,999.99 in their bank account. Okay, we tax them on the dollar that they make over that, the $1 billion. Okay, at 90%. Okay, so they keep $10, or they keep 10 cents. Okay, so we're adding .10. They're still a fucking billionaire. They're still a fucking billionaire. They still can achieve that goal. They can get a fucking award that says you won capitalism. Now you have $1 billion and 9 cents. Instead of $1 billion and $1, you have $1 billion and 9 cents. Like, you're winning, buddy. You're going. You could buy your $500 million yacht and still have money left over. Jeff Bezos' mega yacht is $500 million. You could still buy that yacht from Jeff Bezos. It's used now. You might get a deal. And you would still have hundreds of millions of dollars to fuck around with. If I had $500 million, I would be set. My mom would be set. My sisters would be set. I have 3 of them. Okay, I talked to their kids set. They have 4 kids between them. My best friends, I got like 20 of them. They got like a gaggle of fucking kids now too. All of them will be set. Eat the rich. Eat the fucking rich. Oh, I need to put on some music. I need to put... I'm sorry. I need to put on some background music.
In that provision, 99.8% of Americans get zero. Further, large corporations in this bill get a $918 billion tax break. That is what the 1% and the wealthy campaign contributors get. So, here's what you get, assuming you're not a billionaire. This bill throws over 16 million people off of the health insurance they have by slashing Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act by over $1.1 trillion. So, $1 trillion in tax breaks for the 1%, $1 trillion in cuts in Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Further, it forces millions of Medicaid recipients to pay a $35 copayment every time they visit a doctor. So what is the impact of all this? What happens when you throw 16 million people off healthcare? You impose a $35 copayment. Well, what the Yale School of Public Health and the University of Pennsylvania estimate is that if this reconciliation bill is enacted, and it's unbelievable for me to say this, but this is what they are telling us. This is what they have studied. If this bill goes through and all these healthcare cuts take place, over 50,000 Americans will die unnecessarily each and every year. 50,000 Americans. In other words, this bill is a horrific death sentence for low income and working class Americans. Further, if this legislation is enacted, rural hospitals all over the country that are already struggling would be forced to shut down. It would also make massive cuts to community health centers and nursing homes. In other words, this legislation is the most significant attack on the healthcare needs of the American people in the modern history of our country. So, our healthcare system is broken, it's dysfunctional, and they make it even worse. And that's not all. This bill wipes out nutrition assistance for millions of hungry kids at a time when we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of nearly any major nation on earth. This bill will also make it much harder for working class kids to receive the higher education they need by cutting education by some $350 billion. At a time when the planet is struggling with climate change, heat waves now all over the world, this bill decimates investment in energy efficiency and sustainable energies like wind and solar. If you are concerned about how the United States keeps getting into never-ending wars, this bill makes a bad situation even worse by handing out another $150 billion to the Pentagon, a 15% increase in an already bloated Pentagon budget. Now, I want to applaud all of the Democrats, every single one of them, who strongly oppose this bill. And I want to congratulate two Republicans, Senators Paul and Senator Tillis, for voting with the Democrats in opposition to proceeding on this bill. But here is something really interesting and quite telling about where the Republican Party is today. When Senator Tillis of North Carolina indicated that he would vote against the bill, he was lambasted on social media by Trump, and he was threatened with a primary. He actually did not do what Trump wanted him to do. Is there anything in this world that is worse than that? Today, Senator Tillis announced that he would not seek re-election. So it is pretty clear to me, and I would hope to every American, that the Republican Party of today does not tolerate any independent thought. One might have believed that members of Congress were elected to represent their constituents, to do what they thought right for their constituents. But that's not what it is in the Republican Party right now. The sole function of Republican members of Congress is just to tell Donald Trump how brilliant he is, how infallible he is, how great he is, put up a statue of him on Mount Rushmore, oh my God. And if any Republican, like Senator Tillis, suggests otherwise, they will be politically destroyed. This is pathetic, and it has all of the hallmarks of the kind of authoritarian society that Trump wants to take us into. Dissent is simply not tolerated anymore within Republican ranks. I don't have to tell anybody that this is an extremely difficult moment in American history. Trump and the oligarchs have unlimited wealth. They have a great deal of power and they want more. But there is something that we have. And we saw that just last week in the recent mayoral primary in New York City. So what you had is one candidate supported by all of the big money interest, all of the oligarchs, but you had the other candidate who was supported by ordinary people. And guess who won? The guy, Mr. Mamdani, who was supported by rank and file New Yorkers, won the election. So I think what we can learn from that is that if we stand together and not let Trump and his friends divide us up based on our religion or where we were born or our sexual orientation or the color of our skin, if we stand together, we can beat the oligarchs. And let me tell you, in this moment in history, that is exactly what we've got to do. Thanks very much.
And now, let me show you this one moment of my interview with Senator Sanders that really sticks with me to this day. And I use this line a lot, I'm sure you know, where he told me that the most important issues that people face are often the issues that are least discussed in the media and elsewhere, right? When it comes to affordability, people being psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck, student loans and defaults and credit card debt and healthcare and the ability to get an education and so on and so forth, the ability to afford a home, that these issues are not being given enough attention, and they need to. Let me show you this part of my interview with Senator Sanders.
And here is the reality, which is not talked about very much. The reality is that in America today, our life expectancy is about 4 years less than other wealthy countries. But even worse is the fact that if you're working class in America, on average, you live 7 to 8 years shorter life than people who are wealthy. Now, why is that? And the answer is not just healthcare, which is important. Working class people, low-income people do not have access to the kind of healthcare that the rich do, but it is the stress, the day-to-day stress that working class people live under. And I grew up in a working class home. I know a little bit about what it's like to have a family living paycheck to paycheck. And what I did, that was in Altoona, Wisconsin. I said, okay, all right, tell me what it's like to live under economic stress. And people just stood up. And one woman says, you know, it's a question of whether I buy shoes for myself or my kids, whether I can afford eyeglasses, whether I can afford to go to the doctor, whether, you know, I'm going to have the money to prepare a decent meal for my kids. That I live every day not knowing, you know, what to expect. How do I survive? And what that is about, that is the reality that tens of millions of our people are living under. We don't talk about it. And what I have learned over the years, that some of the most important issues are the issues that get least discussion. And one of those issues is not just the working class people live 6 years shorter lives, 7 years shorter lives than the rich. That's important. Why is that? But what's equally important is 60% of the American people in the richest country on earth live paycheck to paycheck. That means they go to work, and if their landlord raises the rent, they don't know how they're going to be able to pay for it. Kid gets sick, don't know how to can afford to send the kid to the doctor.
This is real. this is what happens every fucking day. Every day. Like, oh, the kid needs to go to the doctor, $35. Specialist, $50. Okay. Like, car breaks down, flat tire, $200, $500. Okay. Shit. Like, oh, heaven forbid, kid breaks their arm. Like, anything that's not budgeted or planned for can put families in debt forever. And we have people who can rent the Vatican or Venice. No, they can rent the Venice for their wedding, $50 million. They can go spend that and not be financially ruined after that. Like, it's okay to be rich. Like, I'm not hating on people who are successful and rich. I'm just hating on, like, the level of poverty that we think is acceptable, the level of disparity between the uber rich and the working class and the middle class. That amount of disparity is just gross. It's disgusting. It doesn't have to be this way. We've learned 250 years. We can't trust the rich, can't trust the government to, you know, do the right thing and equal out, balance out the inequities between the uber wealthy and, you know, the bottom, the least of us. So we have to do it, right? We have to do it. That's what I'm saying. This is the new chapter. This is the new chapter. All right. It's not about any one issue. It's not just about ICE and their and their depravity. It's not about you know, birthright citizenship. It's not about, you know, the deficit. It's not about you know, the Green New Deal. It's about fixing the wrongs, putting things back on a level playing ground, raising up the least of us instead of spurning or hurting the least of us. That's where we're at now. All right, that's what we need to be fighting on. It's like, okay, we are the richest country in the world. We are the best country in the world. Let's fucking make the least of us the best of us, you know? Let's give those kids lunches in school so their parents don't got to worry about it. Let's go ahead and take care of, you know, the dad on disability because he fell off a roof. You know, let's take care of his medical bills until he can get back on his feet, you know? Let's go ahead and do these things so that our bottom, our base, the foundation, the worst off of us, the people who have the least, let's make it so, like, they have a good life. They are able to, you know, they're not able to afford, you know, trips to Disneyland, maybe. They can't go see the Grand Canyon, you know, can't do things like that. But at least they don't have to worry about their doctor's bill. At least they don't have to worry about, you know, if they're going to have food on the table. You know, at least they don't have to worry about, you know, who's going to take care of their kid. There's kids' lunch every day for them at school because, you know, we're taking care of it. You know, that's just, the bar is so low. The bar is so fucking low. And we can't even get there. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these stupid fucks?
Car breaks down, don't know how to get it fixed, etc., etc. That is the reality facing tens of millions of Americans in the wealthiest country on earth. And that is the issue that we got to focus on. And that is why we got to transform our economy so that it works for everybody, not just billionaires.
There you have it right there. Let me know what you think, folks, and hit subscribe, and let's get to 6 million subscribers. And shout out to Senator Sanders.
Can't get enough Midas? Check out the Midas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MidasPlus.com.
Well, you're not going to find a more engaging, charismatic, or insightful content maker, commentator, influencer getting into good trouble than Adam Mockler, who's one of my colleagues on the Midas Touch Network, has his own YouTube channel. We decided to do a crossover episode, Popok times Mockler. He doesn't just speak to and for his generation. He speaks to the generations. And I wanted to be together with him so he and I could get together and start talking about things that matter as we prepare for this engagement to get to the midterms, to participate in this participatory democracy.
Okay, so I think I'm thinking, like, you know, what I was saying is, like, you know, the only way they don't fear their constituents is because, you know, they know how to rig the election again. There's a, I don't know if that's better or not. Another explanation for a not so dark one is they're so indoctrinated, they're so in love, they're so fucking broken that even if they're getting kicked off of Medicaid, they're like, you know what? It's for my president. Long live Donald Trump. Okay? Some bullshit like that, because we already have evidence of that. This fucking guy, his wife has a fucking green card. This is so what's fucked up. She's here legally. Here, there's some. No. She doesn't have a green card. She's Iranian. She's working on getting her green card. She's in this kind of weird. Her adjustment of status is pending. So she just needs to check in. But she has a. Okay. This is what it is. She has her green card, is being revoked because of a theft charge. They're going through the legal process of, like, either stopping it from getting revoked or applying again, one of the two. And so, like, while they're awaiting a decision, again, these people are awaiting a decision, they're in a gray area. While she's waiting for the decision, she had to do these check-ins, and she did it. This last check-in, they took her in, and they're going to deport her. They're Trump supporters. They all voted for Trump. They have the Trump flag, Trump hat, and everything. So, and what I was getting to, but okay, so this guy is happening to this guy, and it's just some bullshit. It's just the paperwork. Okay, like, it's so stupid. Why would she has a chance of staying here? Okay, there's a chance of her staying here. She originally had her green card. Okay, she was here legally, totally. She broke the law, and when you break the law, certain crimes can get your green card revoked. Okay, that 100% true. Okay, but while that's all being process, while that's all being worked through the courts, the USCIS, like, while that's all being worked through, they can fucking stay here and wait for their determination. Like, her whole family's here. They have kids. They got fucking little fucking kids that are like under not teens and younger, bro. They have kids. Her husband's there. Their house is there. Like, they can just wait until they get a determination before the USCIS. That's what it used to be. You just wait until your case was heard, and they're backed up right now, so we should give them more funding to hear the cases. But no, they're like, yeah, no, we're gonna deport you. You technically don't have status, so we're gonna deport you. And so they're deporting her, and he's like, I still support Trump. If you can't defend your wife, and how wrong that is, no tiene huevos. No tiene huevos, the fucking coward.
Democracy. We talk about the budget and the budget bill, not in terms of, oh, woe is me, it passed, but how do we use it against the adversary? How do we use it? How do we weaponize it against the Trump administration? And some other things that we wanted to talk about. So here is one time only, but not the last time, the first time, Mockler times Popok.
I am joined today by the legendary Michael Popok of Legal AF. You've seen him on the Midas Touch Network. Now he has the Popok firm. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Adam. This is a thrill for me. I was so glad when you reached out and said, "Why don't we do something together? We should."
We've been working on the same network for I've been working there for over a year now, and we've never been on camera together. So there's a lot happening in the world of law and politics that we can dig into. Let's start with some of the bigger stories, then we'll go broad and talk about, some of our experiences in the industry. But to dive in, the Senate just passed the big ugly bill, if you want to call it that. J.D. Vance was the tie-breaking vote. What's standing out to you about this bill and your coverage of it? What are you talking about the most?
I think what we're all talking about, which is you hurt the ones you love, and Donald Trump has found a way to, and his voters don't realize it yet, or they don't seem to care about it. They seem to be more focused on cultural issues than how it impacts them. But $1 trillion cut in Medicare and food stamps, that's enough for me. The 11 million people being thrown off the insurance rolls through changes to ACA and different things. That alone, if any Democrat had ever proposed that is.
I was reading up on something. A few people mentioned it. There also, ACA is a Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, whatever. What they're saying is that it changes, it attacks that, and one of the ways it goes after it is the Affordable Care Act. I don't know what exactly it did, if it made it harder or if insurers weren't allowed to reject you for prior conditions. So if if you have cancer, if you have a cancer diagnosis and you need health insurance, so they can't deny you for it. So we'll go ahead and Google that. So see. But that's one of the things they were going to do. Budget bill and conditions, protections. Okay, I think I'm gonna read this. I think this is gonna be good. Do I read this? Because I think the biggest thing is the cuts to raising the deficit and the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. But there's a lot of other shit, so I think I'm gonna read this. We'll highlight what the little things there are that nobody's really talking about.
The third rail, that would be political suicide and malpractice. But Donald Trump, despite the polls that show he's wrong, despite the fact that the polling is showing that the independents are abandoning him in large numbers, which bodes terrible for him and great for democracy come the midterms, he's just on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we're starting off with a banger. All right, look at this. The first of these outrageous policies, buried in Section 70302 of the legislation, would severely restrict federal courts' authority to hold government officials in contempt if they violate judicial orders. A court's ability to hold back the actors in contempt is a vital enforcement power that the judges can use to compel compliance. Oh my god. And what sucks is this is the law now. Tomorrow he's gonna sign it. How disgusting. How disgusting. He is going to sign one of the most atrocious and anti-American pieces of legislation ever in our 250 years of history. Whatever, how many years, hundreds of years we've been. Since 1776, 275, so whatever, I don't know. He's going to sign it on the 4th of July. Technically, it wasn't signed on the 4th of July. That's just when we, when it was, but we declared independence. The day we declared independence, he's going to sign. They planned this. They fucking planned this. He wants to be addicted. The day we declared independence away from King George, he's going to sign legislation that makes him a fucking king. Like, our place in the history books from these moments from tomorrow on are going to be fucking historic and devastating. Because it's just gonna get, like, I told my friends, I was like, yeah, it's just gonna get worse before it gets better. Luckily, me and my friends were in a pretty good spot. Family too, thank God, But damn, people will die because of this. All right.
Borrowed time. He knows he's going to be lame duck very, very soon, and he's trying to pay off all of his debts, even if it means rewarding the upper 1%, 0.5% of America, and crapping all over his voters. And they won't realize it yet until they're thrown off of Medicare, thrown off of Medicaid, don't have welfare, don't have food stamps. The ones that argue, well, this is an austerity program, right? We're all tightening our belt. We're not all tightening our belt. There's nobody, the oligarchs and the tax cuts for the wealthiest percentage of this country, and all you're getting in return is no tax on tips. I mean, this is the asymmetry about this is so devastating. We have to find a way as a party to better communicate to his voters that they have bet on the wrong horse and they're getting kicked in the head.
Yeah, there's also an asymmetry in the permanence of the tax cuts. So the tax cuts geared towards the richest of the rich. They're more permanent and long lasting. And then the tax cuts that he's kind of dangling above.
It looks like, in a victory for the judicial independence, the updated text did not include any version of the provision that would have limited the power of the federal courts to hold government officials accountable. Great, that's awesome. At the urging of CLC and our partners, the Senate upheld the parliament's decision, which means this provision has been successfully defeated as a violation of Senate rules and rebuked. Nice. However, the revised text still included a provision that would have compelled states to give up their right to regulate AI in the face of opposition from CLC and many others. The Senate repeatedly watered down this proposal instead of an outright ban. The latest version, kicking and screaming, would have conditioned federal funding for broadband infrastructure on states agreeing to not enforce their AI regulations for 5 years. That's the compromise. You can't regulate AI for 5 years. Okay, wait. Oh, fuck, bro. Okay, here we go. And where it says defeat both the provisions. In the reconciliation bill, no longer blocked. Say, okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. That wasn't that good. Okay.
Of middle and lower class people, they go away after a few years. You know, earlier on the live stream, I was live talking to my audience, and we were trying to list out everything wrong with the bill, and it was just so much that I couldn't fix it or figure it in one list. It was like flooding the zone in a bill, because even beyond the massive debt problem, they're now trying to create an immigration state. Like the funding to ICE is going to go from 3.4 billion to now 45 billion or so in 2029. Imagine that type of increase. It's wild. And then there's changes to election integrity, slashing of Medicaid, of course, the redistribution of wealth and the permanence of the tax cuts. But there's also massive cuts to green energy. It was like 850,000 jobs are going to be cut from green energy from Biden.
There is no I'm a simple man. I like, you know, if I'm gonna get something good, or I'm gonna get that good feeling, if I'm excited about something, you know, there has to be some sort of physical presence, atmospheres. I'm getting something, food, gift, whatever. To, you know, give me that good feeling. These men are acting like, oh man, we're gonna help people right away. Like, this, people are gonna fucking love us for this. Like, this is really gonna be, you know, okay, I figured it out. Yeah, it's their billionaire friends. It's their millionaire friends. They are so stoked. They are so happy. All the people putting money in their fucking pockets, they are fucking ecstatic. Oh my god, all the trips they're gonna go on.
Bills, and then changes to housing and urban development. It's just top down an awful bill. What do you think the way forward is for Democrats to consolidate power? The midterms, people in the comments were asking me, what do we do earlier when I was live?
Yeah, well, I know we were on pins and needles about whether this was going to get passed after 50 votes and all sorts of things.
Yeah,
I wanted it to get passed because not because I endorse anything that's in it, but because you need to hold the party and MAGA responsible. Follow the money. Now we still have to get through the House, but let's assume it gets through the House. Mm-hmm. This is their policy agenda. We can talk about esoteric things like Project 2025. It's another.
Yeah, when it made it through, when they voted on it in the Senate, I was like, yep, this is gonna be reality. This is gonna be a fucking
page
reality.
On a Project 2025. That doesn't mean anything. But when somebody goes to a closed door of a Social Security office, or doesn't get their pay, or doesn't get their disability, or their child goes hungry in the red states, right? Or the infrastructure a package that Biden had signed, but now Donald Trump has defunded, means that there's no jobs in their community. This is now codified in the bill. The policy of Donald Trump, the depraved policy of Donald Trump and MAGA, are now there for all to see. Now it's going to be up to people like you and me, Midas Touch, and the rest to go through the 900-page bill once it's finally become law and explain to people. You got to talk truth to each other first, right, Adam? Right, yep. That's the first thing. We have to empower our audience with knowledge. Once they have the knowledge, then we've got to run the bastards out. There's numbers of ways to do it. I don't want to have anybody just sitting around until the midterm election to take them out, run them out on a rail. We've seen 6-7 million people hit the streets at rallies by 50-51 and other organizations. We need more participatory. We need more participation in our participatory democracy, and we have to kind of reclaim that right? Just the way the Tea Party movement did 20 years ago, 25 years ago. The Democrats, whatever that means to be a Democrat, and you can see from elections in New York, it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. We're not a monolithic party. We're a very large tent party, right? And I'm talking to independents too, and moderates and everything else. Fair-minded people can no longer be the silent majority. We no longer have the luxury of being silent. And so we've got to do that now. And it's not just waiting, like as I said, for the midterms. There are local elections. There are judge elections. You should think about running for something. Run for school board. Run for your local town council. Help, volunteer for an elected official in your community that you think aligns with your values. Help them get elected or reelected. There's lots of things to do. Here is step one: learn, come. Have a fellowship, shoulder to shoulder on your channel, my channel, Midas Touch, and all of that. But then you got to put it into action, and that's what's going to make the difference as we lead into the midterms and beyond.
You know what? I really like the argument you made about this passing almost being a necessity so that people can connect the dots to their vote. Because I think one of the worst things that could happen for democracy is Trump having an absolutely lucky presidency where he sits back and everything glide, like he's just able to build off the back of Biden's policies, which were largely good for the economy. I'm not saying, of course, we want bad things to happen, but voters being held accountable for their actions and connecting the dots straight up is the best way to disincentivize people from rolling the dice and voting on another orange freak in the future, right?
Absolutely. Look, we're not the Grim Reaper channel. We're not like hoping for the demise of American democracy but we have eyes and ears. We know that the US dollar is the worst it's ever been since 1973. We know that confidence in the American economy is at its lowest ebb. We know that 67% of Americans in a recent poll, including 70% of independents, are not proud to be Americans under this administration. So we have to, as you said, pull it together and connect the dots so that when people go into the
See, this is what I needed to hear. This is what I was. I was fatigued. I was not. I didn't have the same energy I've had. It's been 5 months of this shit. 6 months of it. Going on 6 months of this shit. So it's been tiring, man. It's been a little tiring. My grandma passed away. 3 weeks in 5 different cities. I was in I don't know where the fuck I was in North Carolina, but I was in North Carolina, I was in Washington, D.C., I was in Chicago for layovers and shit. I was in Phoenix. I'm in Austin, I was been in a bunch of different area codes. I'm really tired. I wanted to stream, but didn't have the energy, didn't have the fire. And I felt like a little defeated, but I'm glad I'm coming back. And people are like, "Yeah, it's not over, y'all. No Kings was nice, but keep on it. 1,000 protests in within 1 year. Let's fucking go, bro. Let's go."
Voting